Hi folks, it's 27th Thursday of March 2025 I think. And I just thought I'd just do a quick chat because I went back to the Leeds protests this week, and in fact if you notice, there's been 3 protests I've been to. The first one, well, not the first one, the last one was the student one in Leeds, which has gone from a huge crowd to basically no one was there. Just stood there. It didn't feel like they had the energy it used to have. There was that bloke there who called people, they said all Jews are, and I won't repeat it, and a few other regulars. And their issue seemed to be that Leeds Uni, according to them, is funding or involved or something with a company or a few companies that they disagree with. Now, of course, the most obvious thing is if they really believed in that, they'd quit the course. They'd quit Leeds Uni out of protest. But they don't, do they? They're still happy to go. It's just easy for them to do half an hour speech every few weeks. So I'm being pulled out by the dogs. I'm walking the dogs and I'm doing this. But yeah, it's easy for them to stand there and do half an hour of them moaning, but they actually don't commit. And it's like the York lot when they were moaning about their York University being involved, and I said, well, why don't you just quit then? And one of them told me to F off because she was embarrassed that she wasn't really committed. But I mean, we knew the York lot wasn't because they covered their face, and whenever you see any protesters cover their face, what it means is they don't believe in the protest. And so they rattled on for half an hour just pointlessly. Like I said, I mean, you know, my point is these protests, all protests are pretty pointless to these days because there's one every second and no one's interested. And it just tends to be people getting social media likes. In fact, there was one of the protesters at the Leeds Uni at the end pointed towards us and called us cockroaches. You might hear it on the video depending if you listen hard enough. I mean, he's the same person who stated that it was more interesting in his dad seeing him do these things than what he was interested in, because I got the impression his dad gives him money. Again, a lot of these, some now who go on the protest probably still believe in the protest, but the bulk of them, nah. And you can tell that. They're not dedicated. Again, as I've said, if they're dedicated, they'll quit Leeds Uni and York Uni, but they won't. They're just too happy to go along and still fund a college or university that they claim that they're against. So, zero principles there. And then the Saturday we went, the reason I went to that was, as you know, on one of the videos, one of them weirdos, you know, the ones that they pretend to be anti-fascist even though they're completely fascist, and you've seen them. I mean, he, on one of the protests, the big fat one, who was sweating even though it was a cold day, but it was that unfit, couldn't resist fondling Martin, pushing him over. Even though I keep pointing out these are weirdos who go around abusing people, and they keep telling me no they don't. But of course they want everyone to see there are weirdos. And I think it was him or one of the others. There was one in Nottingham as well who was laughing when I said one of the guys molested us, but according to him it's funny. He thinks it was funny, didn't he, folks? You heard him, he was laughing. He thinks people molesting others is hysterical. Again, this is why they're not left-wing. No left-wing really would ever even consider that funny, but, you know, this is a horrible person in his, you know, cheap, nasty 1980s leather jacket, even though I suspect the bulk of the people there were either vegan or vegetarian. I mean, I'm vegetarian, but he didn't care about their feelings. He was only interested in being abusive and talking like he thought he was a gangster, saying, oh, some girls are coming down to see you. Really pathetic and embarrassing. It's the sort of thing you'd imagine a child would say, not a grown adult, but, you know, he just showed himself to be a plonker. And one of them, I forget which one, sort of suggested I wasn't going to Leeds because of these thugs, because I think the idea was if they molested us sexually enough, like one of the fat one, he rubbed himself, didn't he, folks? You saw it on the video, against me as they pushed me over. Apparently, that's how they deal with things, this molestation. They're weird, ugly people. But apparently he thought I was intimidating and I hadn't gone to Leeds because of that. Well, no, that's what. So I thought, sod you, I'll go to Leeds. And it was pretty dead, as you saw. It's not like Manchester, massive crowd. I mean, the interesting thing about Leeds is so many of them have been prosecuted. We've got one person who's been charged, what did she, some unbelievable, I think it was something racist or something, and we had the other guy who's been prosecuted for assault, and it's constant. There's just there's been, if you look, I think several people have now been done, which is unusual because a lot of these, you don't hear that from any other pro-Palestinian protests. I mean, like I've said, the Manchester one, I get on with everyone. Huge crowd, huge number, well, not huge, I gather it was a larger before, but compared to Leeds it's a lot larger. And yet I have, except for one twit, I have no problems. I have people come up and they chat and they're friendly. As I'm walking around with them, they make sure I don't get run over. They ask me if I'm okay, they welcome me, but the Leeds lot, they're weird. Not all of them, some are still nice, but the remainder, and this is why I think a lot don't go, is because of the abuse and the weirdos. And again, we saw the bloke, didn't we, on Saturday, the tall one who was prosecuted for kicking somebody who threatened me. Mr. Weirdo wears his short, he looks very strange. His trousers are very short, they're weird. They don't look like they fit him. It's very strange. But yeah, it was pretty much dead. It's dying off. I mean, the other week I wasn't there. Somebody became quite abusive, as you might have seen, towards some of the people who were filming by trying to block them. Now, as I pointed out, that's just an act of fascism and stupidity, because you come across as really thick and stupid when you're trying to block people filming, because what you're doing is you're saying you don't have rights but we have the right to protest. Well, that's counterproductive, because these same people complain if their rights were taken from them, but they're the same people who are happy to try and take rights from other people. I mean, this is how thick they really are. I mean, these are thick, stupid people by definition, and they're also ignorant because they were they don't know if other people welcome us, and as you know, I was welcomed at the beginning over a year ago. I was told, any problems, chat to the organiser. So they take it amongst them. Sorry, they take it among themselves to think that they speak for everyone else. These white middle class socialists. I mean, they just come across as bigoted, don't they? I mean, that's what a bigoted fascist does. Just like them who pretend to be these sort of fascist footballers who claim to be anti-fascist. Well, I don't know if they are footballers, but they're part of this boys and girls. I can't remember what they call themselves. I think it's something like we like and we're against fascism. I mean, I don't know what they call themselves. They're really weird people. Horrible people. But anyway, as you know, folks, there's a lot of people who claim to be left-wing who are clearly not left-wing in any way. They're just fascist thugs. But they get upset when you point out they're just thick fascist thugs and they're not at all left-wing. They're fake as anything. But anyway, I just thought it's worth an update, folks. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone back to Leeds except for these thickos who telling me they thought. I mean, I couldn't even care less about them. These irrelevant, silly people who are quite ugly, but they've got in their heads that they must think they're intimidating me not to go. Don't work, folks. I ignore fascists like that. But if they're happy, I mean, they're openly happy to inform us they're fascists. They're that thick. They're so thick and stupid that they think that going around threatening people, being abusive, trying to stop other people speaking, trying to stop other people filming, trying to remove people's rights from them, they think that that somehow makes them left-wing and anti-fascist. I've got a shock for you folks. I've got a shock. You know, you ain't. You're as fascist as they come, folks. But anyway. In fact, I was just reading from a post from somebody who was saying they're talking about a protest that they want stopping, and they said, oh, there should be laws to prevent people having protests because it was something they disagreed with. And this is a person who thinks they're anti-fascist. And you're going, are you this thick? Are you stupid? Do you not understand that? You know, the whole point of being left-wing and being anti-fascist is to allow everybody having a point of view to have their say. Let me just make this clear for you folks. For any of these thick, stupid people who fail to grasp the understanding, freedom of speech doesn't mean it's just something allowing people who you agree with to speak. It means everybody does. It means you have to defend. This is the whole point of being left-wing. You have to defend the rights of people you disagree with to have a voice. You stand by them. You may disagree with them. I might go to protests where, and I've said it, I wasn't born in this country, and I might be stood next to people who want me kicked out of this country because I wasn't born here. But I'll still let them speak. I believe in that. I'll stand by them. I'd rather stand by people having a voice, even if it's to kick me out of the country, than people who want to stop them having that voice. It's not the people who want me to be kicked out of the country that terrifies me. It's the people who think they have the right to stop other people having a voice. They're the ones who are scary. They're the ones who are the fascists. They're not the good people, folks. They might think they are. I mean, in their stupid little thick heads, because you have to be really stupid to think that going on one of these protests or counter-protests to people you disagree with actually achieves anything. It doesn't. It achieves sod all. No one's going to come round to your point of view just because you terrify them. I mean, that's just seems to be this fascist ideology by these so-called fake left-wing people. They think that if they scare people enough, intimidate them, that they'll change their minds. It doesn't. All it does is it pushes people underground or pushes people towards other parties who may or may not have the best intentions. And we have to stop this. We have to tell people who do this fascist ideology, they're not left-wing. They're in fact incredibly fascist. And you see, it's a bit like a tree. You have to accept people. I'm looking at a tree right now. Now, everybody could be, you could have 1,000 people looking at the same tree. Different times of the year, from different angles. If you get close, all you'll see is the bark. If you stand back, you'll see the leaves. Now, that means everyone's got a point of view. Just because someone else has a different point of view of that tree to you, doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It just means they have a different point of view. But we have this situation where you have people who pretend they think they're left-wing. They'll stand close to that tree and they'll say, aha, all I see is bark. And then somebody else says, aha, but I see leaves. And they say, no, you're wrong. I have to silence you because your view is wrong. Because I only see bark, and that's the only accepted view I should have. Everyone else should be silent. It's ridiculous. Now, it doesn't mean people are correct. It doesn't mean they're wrong. But what you should do is allow people to express their beliefs, their views, and they may challenge your thoughts. For instance, they may say something that is uncomfortable, and it could be true. But just because it doesn't fit in your narrative doesn't mean that they're wrong or should be silenced. They might say a lot of things. They might say 99% of the things they say might be wrong. Doesn't mean that 1% of what they say isn't wrong. So the dog's playing up in the background, folks. Oh, shush. No, you'll pull me over. Getting giddy. No, folks. But as I say, I just thought I'd update. I've done, some of these protests, and I think people aren't as interested. I mean, you walk around, when you're there, the public seem to have they're counterproductive, because now the public seem to be less interested. In fact, as I keep pointing out, I know people who have turned against. They used to support the pro-Palestinian side, and now they're just going, nah, they don't, because they're so fed up with the protests. They've actually taken the counterpoint of view. I mean, you just wonder, are these people bonkers? Because they're literally just winding people up now. I mean, I think they think that if they harass companies and stuff, running into supermarkets, smashing up buildings, harassing companies into submission, taking down products or whatever, that's a win. It isn't. They're not doing it because they believe in your protest. They're doing it out of fear. I mean, that's, at what stage do you not realise that's a dangerous position to be in? Going around smashing up banks. It's a really bizarre thing to do. I mean, I see some, they claim that a product might not be selling as well, and that's some sort of victory. Well, no, it's not. How's that a victory? That you're just terrified? They're not doing it because they believe in your protest. It's just out of fear. That's not winning minds over. That's the opposite. That's, in no way can you stand there and go, this is a left-wing ideology well, maybe it is for some. Maybe that's how they view left-wing ideology. You just force your views on others. But, when I think there was a chat today somewhere at one of the unions about communism. Well, that's the danger of communism, isn't it, folks? Communism is about forcing your ideology onto others, and yet claiming that it's a good thing. Well, any system that you have to force your ideology onto somebody is not a good system. It's a failed system. But anyway. There was also another one. There was the PIP one as well, on Saturday, the disability one, which, I think they have a point. I think a lot of the people there, I mean, it was pouring down, so I only stayed a few minutes. But, I mean, you'd think Labour would either just have left things as they are, or there's no reason why they shouldn't actually, acknowledge the and improve the PIP thing, so those that are genuine get it, and those that are fakes don't. I mean, I know some on the left will claim and pretend that nobody's blagging it, or they pretend that only one or two are, but, I know people on PIP are genuine. Quite a few, mental health mostly. These people will never work. They've got schizophrenia, seriously schizophrenia. But then I know others who are literally just blagging it, because what they do is they tell each other, they get in the community, they tell each other how to do it. I think it's roughly what they do is they say, go to your doctor for a year, tell them you're depressed, get on antidepressants, and then claim PIP. And in theory, you should get it, because you've got the documentation from the doctors. But, and there's no reason why Labour couldn't have changed it so that the genuine ones, because, it was like a lot of the people on Saturday, they looked severely disabled, they're in wheelchairs. They should be left alone. There's no need for them to be interviewed, because, to be crude, their legs aren't suddenly going to grow back. But it's how do you tackle the fraudulent ones? That's the difficulty. And perhaps, because I think what Labour have done in this is just some hash job which won't do anything. The genuine ones will probably suffer, and the ones who are fiddling, it will work out a way around it. I mean, it's like a lot of times you do hear the genuine ones do say, they've had to struggle to get it, because they're doing it honestly. The ones that know how to fiddle know how to just zoom through it, because they tell each other. And if they'd actually applied themselves, Labour could actually still save probably more money by working out our way. But it's a tough one, because, it's how do you prove with such as the mental health where if somebody's faking it? I mean, it's one thing, schizophrenia, but if you tell them, if you do it on the grounds of depression, well, that's a lot harder. But, it was just a shame that it was raining, although, as I keep saying, even though their protest was probably a worthwhile one, it ain't going to do anything. I think most people probably think one way or other. I mean, I don't think anyone actually agrees with this Labour lot on what they've done. Whatever side of the politics, even Conservatives are saying this is ridiculous. In fact, I've even heard a few of the ones that are normally, the socialist types, there's that fat bloke who, it looks like your typical trade union guy, just hugely overweight, fat. I never understand people who are heavily overweight, unless they've got health problems, claim to be socialist or left wing, because you'd think they'd be the ones who'd lose weight, so they're not a burden on the NHS. But even this fat bloke, who normally just, to be honest, even his podcast he was talking a bit rubbish, but even actually bit his tongue and actually said he agreed with some of the Conservatives. Normally this is the guy who thinks all Conservatives are pure evil, because he's a bigot like a lot of these socialist types, but even he bit his tongue and actually said that the Conservatives are actually better over this than Labour. So, I don't think anyone actually agrees with Labour on it, but I'd imagine as soon as Rachel Reeves goes, it'll be reversed anyway. Why Rachel Reeves is there? Well, we know why, because day one, didn't she do? She had that little trick by saying, "I'm the first woman Chancellor." Making it much harder, because they ain't going to want to get rid of the first woman Chancellor. I mean, she should just quit, but like a lot of these people, they don't have any principles. They'd rather, sit there looking smug, telling everyone that she's the first female Chancellor, rather than doing the right thing by the country and by people. This Labour government is the dross, really, aren't they? All they've done is tax, made companies not want to work. They're getting rid of staff now. Companies are closing left, right and centre, private schools are closing. And if you're that thick to not understand that private schools are pretty much useful, because, a lot of them look after children with special needs and all sorts. And now all these kids won't have schools to go to, and that means the state has to provide places, and there isn't the places, so all it's going to do is cost the state even more. You have to be really thick, but this is what you've got, thick government who, they've gone along with all these thickos, socialists who aren't too bright, who think that if you tax and tax, companies won't close down. Well, of course they will. The country's probably going to go belly up and not recover. I can see this happening. It's just going to be a place where companies pull out because it's too much tax and too much hassle. The wealthy will not even the wealthy, I think a lot of people are going to just leave. I know people who aren't particularly wealthy are now planning on leaving the country. They just don't want, they don't see any future in England. So you're going to have basically the majority of people who just leave. There won't be anything left. There'll be just probably the criminals left. And even they probably suss out it's still worth leaving. So well done, Labour. Tax away. I suppose Labour can't do anything more damaging now. They might as well just stuff the country, mightn't they, folks? Completely destroy it. Tax everything. You know, make everything. So it's completely, I mean, food, everything, it's just ridiculous. It was like somebody posting one of the papers, I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I won't buy them, but, you know, they were saying in the 80s you could buy fish and chips for £1. Now it's like £12. I mean, these shops aren't going to last. Who's going to go buy fish and... I mean, it used to be a cheap food. I mean, every time you go to the supermarkets, it's heart attack time. I mean, it's like... I used to literally live off about... Sorry, mouth went funny then. I used to live off almost, £5-6 a week in food. That's like one item now. It's a box of cereal. And that's only a few years ago. I mean, it's just... It's crazy. Not to mention heating and stuff. It's just crazy. It's crazy. Why would you stay in England, folks? Seriously. I mean, you can understand people now moving. Why would you? You know it ain't going to get any better. It'll probably just get worse. I don't blame people for moving. And I don't think, like I said, it's the rich. I mean, I suspect the rich will just pull straight out anyway. They've probably got houses abroad. But I suspect you're going to see a lot of people leave the UK and never return. I mean, every time I go into town, there's shops closing. I turn on the news, there's companies going bust. And I don't see anybody really incentivized to set up a business. I wouldn't. I mean, there was a time I would have had a shop and stuff, but Christ almighty. I mean, the rent alone would wipe you out. No mind if you wanted to employ somebody. It's just not worth it, is it? Why bother? You know, why would you take your life savings to do what? Throw it in the bin, that's what you do. Nope. I think people are just not going to bother. And to be honest, there's part of me, I don't blame, people are not wanting to work. Because you can see there's no incentive to. Why would you go out and get a job? I mean, it's just nonsense. You know, why would you go out and get a job and struggle with money for the rest of your life and not have anything? You know, I honestly don't blame people for not. You might as well stay at home, have the same amount of money, if not more, and relax, and at least have a nicer life. No stress, or at least a lot less stress. Anyway, got ranted on there a bit, folks. But yeah, as I say, I went to the protests, and I did when the moment they started rattling on at this Leeds Uni one. Someone walking the dog. The moment it started rattling on that, they weren't happy with Leeds Uni involved with other companies. I just thought, yeah, you know, if you really believe, just quit the uni. That's straightforward. Yeah, you know, when people say these things and they don't quit, you know they don't believe. I mean, I bet they have excuses. Quit. Come on, folks, quit. I'm sure there's other unis you can go to that you'd be happy with. You're not happy with, Leeds Uni, quit. Otherwise, you don't believe. But like I said, compared to, it used to be quite busy, these protests, and it was since the summer holidays. I mean, if you remember, folks, they were all camping outside, most unis, and they all said it, we're not going to move under any circumstance. They all said it. And then as soon as the summer holidays kicked in, and Mummy and Daddy says, we'll take you on holiday, they all just quit. All these campsites instantly closed, vanished. And Leeds Uni, I always remember, I don't even know if the post's still up there, but on the Instagram page it said, we'll definitely be back in September camping out. Never have done, have they, folks? And they've had, they used to have a protest every Wednesday. Sometimes it'd be different days at Leeds Uni. And I remember going, huge crowd, for quite a while. Massive. Now, there's no one there. And they're not even doing it each week by the looks of it. It's just, I mean, one of them said, it's going to be doubling each month. No, doubling each protest. I thought, it ain't. It's decreasing. There's no one there. You know, it's like the Leeds Uni one. I mean, not Leeds Uni, the Leeds Saturday protest, the main one. If you look back at my footage, it was huge crowds. Huge. Now no one's there. There's like a handful. It's embarrassing. Yeah, I don't even know why they're bothering, because it just makes them look silly when there's so few. But anyway, it's up to them, isn't it? I mean, I take no sides on it. My criticism is the poor behaviour, where they become abusive and assault. But it's if they'd listened to me and stopped the thugs going, perhaps and they stopped committing crimes, they might have had more people go, and they might have had more respect from people. But it's like people tell me they looked in the papers, see them, the stories about banks being smashed up, and they went, nah, I don't support them anymore. Well done. I mean, you have to be really moronic to think smashing up shops, shouting at people who are having a coffee with their kids is going to persuade people to come to your side. It doesn't. It does the opposite effect. I mean, it's just bizarre. But anyway, a lot of it's ego, isn't it? A lot of it is these people who are so, they're so self-confident in that they're so superior to everyone. They think that them walking around makes this big difference or something. I don't know. It's just one of them things, isn't it? As I say, I see protests completely pointless, whatever you're protesting about. I mean, the interesting thing today was Just Stop Oil have announced they're not going to protest anymore. Now, I suspect it's because they've sort of combined themselves to another protest. I think they call themselves Youth Demand or something. It's this sort of pro-Palestinian mixed with the Just Stop Oil. So I'm not sure they technically are stopping, but it could be that they've realised that the public are fed up of them. Even I've said it, I'm pro-green, and I think they're idiots. I think they're completely doing more harm than good by turning people off green issues. But the thing is, when you see these protests now, it's never a singular protest in most cases. It's the same people, and they'll be protesting about 5 or 6 issues simultaneously. It's usually pro-Palestine, pro-trans, they claim to be pro-green, but I don't think they are. And whatever else that's fashionable that day. And, you don't get the impression they really believe in anything. It's about social media, about being seen so they can tell their friends. They're not doing anything worse bit. Again, my challenge to them is quit Leeds Uni. Prove you believe in it. That's all you have to do, quit. And I'll respect you for it, but I doubt if a single one will quit. If you don't believe in Leeds Uni, what they're doing, quit. Quit. Don't give me any excuses. I don't need to hear whatever rubbish you come out with. Just quit. I don't care. I don't want to hear your excuses. Quit. They won't, though. Anyway, it's always worth a little chat, isn't it, folks, from time to time. But the thing about the Leeds Uni one was there was no excuse for people not to turn up. They promoted this on a lot of social media. It was a hot day. A hot day, like summer. So you'd think, normally, in fairness, if it's cold or it's raining or there isn't that much publicity, fair enough. But on this occasion, there was. It was the perfect conditions to get a lot out. It was a strange location because you'd either think they'd do it in front of the uni or where they actually originally camped. Maybe they were told they couldn't. That spot they'd shot, it's in the shade, it's a bit miserable. And they didn't seem to care. There was no energy there. it was just about harassment, if anything. I mean, it was embarrassing. But then again, so was the Leeds one. And you compare that to the Manchester one, at least, you know, there's a lot more goes to the Manchester one. There's more, you know, there's the energy there. I think a lot of people in the Manchester one actually do believe in it. You just don't get that feeling in Leeds. I think now it's just the bulk who go, well, one or two might believe, and I probably do, but you get the feeling or the impression that a lot just go because they want to be causing hassle and stuff, and it's just, ugh. But anyway, as I say, I thought we'd just have a quick chat. But nothing much has changed. I mean, honestly, I was shocked when I saw that one at Leeds Uni who called all Jews, you know. And I was also shocked that they're still allowing at the Leeds Saturday one, that one who was assaulted, you know, charged with the assault. You'd think by anyone with a slight bit of brain cell would have said, don't turn up again. I mean, that's what's weird. You'd have to be, you know, I don't understand it. Why would you want to be associated with, you know, somebody who's literally been convicted of assault because they didn't like a Jewish guy? Why would you want to be associated with that? Because you don't have any, you know, on Saturdays you can't claim that you're not walking with people who are Jew haters, because again, on the Leeds Uni one, they're proud to have somebody who's been recorded saying the most offensive things about Jews. And you're thinking, you have to be really dumb to be associated with these people, because you're straight open. Everyone can now accuse you of being Jew haters because you're associating yourself with them. I wouldn't want to be associated with them. I mean, it's beyond belief. I mean, when I was stood there and I saw that guy on Saturday, and I'm thinking, why would you want to be associated with this guy who's been done for assaulting people? You kick him off the cart, you just say don't turn up, and yet they keep bringing him back. I mean, we know they even made him a supervisor. I mean, we also know they made the guy who was abusive towards Jews by calling them, saying all Jews are so-and-so as a supervisor. Well, they're not supervisors. Forget what they call themselves. They put on these yellow vests or something. They're supposed to look after people. It's a weird thing. Doesn't make sense to me, but hey, if that's what they want to do. And then they'll probably get upset that we're recording them acting this way and blame us, who are recording it, filming it, for their stupidity. It's beyond a joke, but, you know, I mean, I don't think they've fully grasped that the general public in Leeds don't think much of them these days because of their poor behaviour. I mean, millions of views over the last year or so have seen their poor behaviour of some of the characters on these protests in Leeds, and you're thinking, wouldn't a person with a slight brain cell sort this out? But no, they don't care. And I've got to the stage, as I say, I'll just go along and film the poor behaviour if that's what they want to do. You know, you have to. It's like the other week, that twit who was trying to block the camera. I mean, what a moron. I mean, you might as well just tattoo "I'm really stupid" on your head when you do things like that. I'm as stupid and bigoted as they come. I'm a fascist because I want to remove people's rights to stop people filming. Gosh, aren't I a dopey moron? I mean, people watching this and thinking, well, if this is what socialists or communists are like, I don't want anything to do with them because they're clearly morons. That's up to them. I mean, are these people dense? Anyway, folks, I'll leave it there. Have a little added chat there, haven't I? No one ever listens to me on these protests because they're as dumb as anything. Keep bringing them back, but if you want to keep making yourself look foolish, And you wonder why people aren't supporting you, and you wonder why people aren't turning up to the protests like they once were. You know, you really are dumb. Dumb. But they'll carry on being dumb, and we'll probably, you know, you'll see people at these protests trying to stop others having a protest or filming or whatever. You know, it's bizarre. And these people will claim to be left-wing. Somebody pointed out they asked me a question, why is there so many women of a certain age, quite elderly women at these protests, these white elderly women? Don't take 2 seconds to work out. It's because they like to surround themselves by young Asian lads. They're hoping to get, in a lot of cases, they're just hoping to get off with one of them. I mean, it's fairly obvious. Maybe not in all cases, but I mean, there is, if you look, it's pretty obvious why some of these women are there. Anyway, we'll leave it there, folks. Just an interesting chat, wasn't it? Hopefully. Just me ranting as I'm walking the dogs, to be honest. Alright then, bye.